Welcome to Jared Scott Outdoors, your source in the field for local outdoor news. This week on Jared Scott Outdoors, I'm at Bear Lake and I'm actually vacationing with my family and extended family. So we're having a great time. Now Bear Lake, of course, is known for the incredible beaches that just go out forever, that you can wade out and swim and play and boat and just do all kinds of things. Now, most people know that Bear Lake is really good for that. However, there's a lot of things in the surrounding areas that you can do as well. So that's what I want to focus on this week, is some of the things that you can do that you maybe haven't heard about. So let's get started. Instead of camping near Bear Lake, we camped up a nearby canyon called Paris Canyon, and specifically at the Paris Springs Campground. There was a group campsite that had lots of tent sites nestled in the trees with the springs running nearby. In fact, a few of my kids tested their hand at fishing the small stream while the rest of us hung out at camp. Here, had a good time. Kids have been geocaching and just doing a lot of playing. So now we're going to go check out a couple things that are in the, actually this is going to be up Paris Canyon, which is the Paris Canyon Ice Cave, and then do a little rock climbing and rappelling. So let's head off and do that. It's about 6 miles away. Paris Canyon and its ice caves are on the west side of Bear Lake. As you head south from Montpelier, you'll run into the small towns of Paris, Bloomington, and then St. Charles. Each of these towns has a canyon with the same name heading up into the mountains to the west, and they all have camping available. To get to the Paris Canyon Ice Cave, just follow the signs. It's well marked at each intersection, so just keep heading up. During the summer, there's a fair amount of campers and thus plenty of people on ATVs and even bikes cruising up and down the road, so be careful and keep an eye out. You may be surprised at how much elevation you gain. In fact, you gain nearly 2,000 feet as the cave is over 7,800 feet above sea level. Because of this, the setting is in a very pretty high mountain area. All right, so we learned from somebody else that just came out of the cave that there's an exit and an entrance. Obviously you can do either one, but we were recommended to go down to the left here, and that's the better way to enter as far as making it easier on that other exit. So that's the route we're going to try. When you round the corner and see the opening that was much bigger than I expected, it's obvious that you're in the right spot. As a warning, right from the get-go, the rocks are slick from so much water dripping from above. So between the wet rocks, snow patches, and ice, the conditions are very slick. We saw many people that came wearing flip-flops, and I'm sure they had a tough time getting around. I'd suggest good shoes with traction, some sort of a flashlight, and a helmet would be a smart idea as well. Once past the initial drop into the cave, you'll find a boardwalk that spans a good distance of solid ice. The ceiling is well above your head as it's a significant cave. As you make it to the end of the boardwalk, it opens up into a huge area with no ceiling. I don't know if the ceiling had collapsed eons ago or not, because even though it was July, this opening was covered in snow. Here you can see what it looks like from above looking in. It's just a huge hole with the opening flush with the ground. We understand there is an offshoot that gets you into another side tunnel, and for that one you do need lights. So that's what our kids are looking for, and sounds like Cade may have found one, so might be time to do some crawling here. Up until now, headlamps weren't needed, but following the sound of Cade and the other kids, the rest of us followed them through a narrow passage into the dark. Here the ceiling came down significantly. Not so much that you had to crawl, but it was pretty close to it, and we had to really watch our heads. This narrow spot was only 15 to 20 feet wide, and then it opened up into another very large cavern. Once you go through that crack and come out of this, it's actually a very big cavern in here, and pretty impressive. If you look around, you can see just a lot of ice formations that have come off the ceiling, and it's probably, what are we, about 20 yards wide by 30 yards. So it's a big cavern, lots of ice formations. More impressive than I expected, really. Careful where you step in here, as there was a big puddle of slush and water that I inadvertently stepped in, soaking my shoes and socks with cold ice water. There's all kinds of nooks and crannies in this one. Who knows how thick the ice is here. Yeah. This is the most impressive part of the cave and definitely worth checking out. However, it's also the most slick part as well, so be very selective as you walk around. Several of the kids have ventured onto some slanted ice shelves and ended up slipping and banging their knees. The only way out of this cavern is back the way you came in. Once back out to that spot, most people leave out the main entrance. However, if you're still feeling a little adventurous, you can do a bit of a rock scramble that brings you out on top of the cave system. As we were warned at the beginning, this is probably easier to climb up and out of to leave the cave rather than climb down into it from here. It's actually definitely worth the trip up here. If you're in the Bear Lake area anyways, you may as well. It's maybe not the biggest ice cave I've been into, and there's the Minnetonka Cave that's not too far from here. Realistically, and that one is, you know, an incredible cave. Of course, you got to pay to play on that one, and it can be very, very crowded, especially in the summer. So this one, there are people that come here, but just a handful at any given point. So just a fun trip for the kids for sure. So now we'll switch gears and do a little rock climbing, maybe some rappelling. So for the rock climbing here, we're actually doing it right here at the Paris Ice Cave, and I'm not a rock climber as far as having gear or any of that kind of stuff, and so I definitely would not feel comfortable taking my kids because I don't have that knowledge and background in rock climbing. However, my brother-in-law Spencer, he does, and so he's got the equipment, and he actually came and checked it out beforehand, and there are some bolts that have already been preset up here in the rocks. So he's getting everything set up, and we're basically going to be climbing right over the main entrance, or right nearby the main entrance to the cave. I climbed around to where Spencer was and had him explain what his plans were.
Alright, so we're doing two different things today. We're going to have a rappel from a natural anchor here, and then there's a nice little climb. Some guys were nice enough to put in some bolts right there for us, and we'll climb up the wall right there. To me it looks like it's going to be about a 5-9 grade, so we'll see how many of us beginners make it.
Spencer was very careful with his setup and double and triple checked everything, which made me feel pretty safe about my kids doing this.
Okay, we're going to do one more safety test with it. Both of my locking carabiners are opposing. We're locked. The webbing is good. My water knots are solid. There's no way for the webbing to go under or come up over. Jared and I have weight tested it. The last test I'm going to do is make sure I can lean back on this. So once again, I come away from the cliff and I can lean back as much as I can. I'm locked and loaded, ready to go. And the last thing I'm going to do is have my fireman belay down there. I'll have my nephew Nate help me out. And all he's going to do is grab the bottom of the rope. He's not going to pull on him, but if he sees me slipping, he's going to give me a tug. And that'll act as my hand if I'm slipping, and he'll catch me. That way there's no way for me to fall to the ground. Okay, we're going over.
Now this wasn't a big rappel for Spencer, but even though it was easy, he wanted to test it all first and show the kids who were watching below how to do it themselves. With Spencer having tested everything and seeing that it worked well, it was time for the kids to give it a try. Riley jumped at the chance to do his first rappel and headed up with Spencer. Once again, Spencer made sure everything was hooked up right and that each kid knew how to go down, how to stop, and any other details that might help. Meanwhile, it being a Saturday, there was a non-stop flow of other people coming to explore the ice cave.
Alright, belay on. Rappelling. And use that left hand, hold on to the rope up there.
Riley came down with his feet too far below instead of his legs being straight out in front of him. But that's alright. It was his first time, and just getting the feeling of trusting a rope and those helping you was enough.
Oh, it was fun. It was hard to learn, but it was fun.
One by one, all the youth that wanted to try rappelling got a turn. I was surprised that while it was the first time for almost all of them, none of them seemed to have any problem going over the edge, which is usually the toughest part for newbies. Once over the edge, with the rope taking all the weight and your feet firmly planted against the wall, it seems to be much easier.
Okay.
Go.
Yay!
Got it, buddy?
What do you think of that?
He was awesome.
They're coming too.
After everyone had their chance to rappel, we switched gears and did some rock climbing. Spencer figured this climb to be rated at a 5.9, which we learned was pretty tough, especially for beginners. Since Cade couldn't rappel, he was the first one to try the climb, but it proved too much for him and he didn't get very far. Even though he didn't get too far, he tried his hardest and had a good time. A few others tried it without any luck, but it was Aubrey who finally toughed her way all the way to the top. It took a lot of effort as well as a few falls before she made it, but she did make it.
I thought that would be easy, but it was not easy at all. And oh no, my forearms are killing me. They're so sore and tight. And they're just like, I don't want to move them. But I did it.
Spencer tried the climb for himself, learning just how hard it was, and found that it taxed even his experience. Then I made a go at it also, showing my kids that I could still hold my own, at least once.
I am definitely not as young as I used to be, though.
After dinner, it was off to our next adventure. This time we were going to check out a high mountain lake we heard was a fun destination. Bloomington Lake was found in the next canyon over, and like the ice cave, it was very well marked with signs, so it was easy to find. Right off the bat, I was impressed with how pretty the country was as we made our way higher and higher. Just that alone got me excited to see what the lake would be like. All right, so we've finished our ice cave exploring and rappelling and rock climbing and had a great time doing that. So now we're going to end the day actually hiking to a high mountain lake. We're at the trailhead here for Bloomington Lake. And so the stuff that we were doing earlier, the rock climbing and such, was up Paris Canyon. And now we've just moved over one canyon and we're in Bloomington, which, you know, from Bear Lake, you just go right up from Bloomington and you've got the Bloomington Canyon as well as this lake here. And it's supposedly just a beautiful lake, and it's just a half-mile, pretty easy hike to it. So we're going to head over there real quick and check this out. Again, with it being just a half-mile away, we weren't too concerned with the hike. It should only be about a 15-minute walk with very little elevation gain, if any. Not surprisingly, with the crazy winter we had, we found some patches of snow along the trail. I told the kids they should have a snowball fight as it's rare to find snow in July, and they quickly agreed. But soon, I became the target.
Hey, not me! Hey! What's that for?
It's for awesomeness.
Oh, for awesomeness? Because I'm awesome?
Nope.
Well, if you come out here, you definitely want to be ready for mosquitoes. We have had some mosquitoes, whether we were rock climbing or just hiking like we are right now. Now, we've only been out a couple hundred yards, and if you see here behind me, there's a beautiful little lake, and it's not the lake. It's not Bloomington Lake. It's just a prelude to Bloomington Lake, so go ahead and keep hiking. I don't know if it has a name or not. However, there are some fish surfacing, so again, not sure of even the fish that are in here, but it is one that, had we had more time, I would have brought a fishing rod for. But we're going to go ahead and keep on hiking and see what the other lake has to offer. Again, just stick to the trail and you can't go wrong. There's even several benches along the way for those that may need a break or just want to sit down and take in the scenery. All right, so lake number 2, and again, this is not Bloomington Lake, it's just another small one, but just beautiful country out here. I think it's the next one after this. Just around the corner, we could see the outlet to Bloomington Lake. Sure enough, it was an easy hike. As we came onto the lake itself, we found it to be in a beautiful setting, with the steep slopes falling right into the lake and the high rocky crags high up above. On the south and west sides of the lake, pine slopes came right down to the edge, which made for great places to hang out and even camping. In reality, there probably aren't too many lakes in the region that are in such a pretty setting, yet so easily accessible. If you find you can't hike as well as you used to, this might be just the perfect lake to come visit. As I rounded a bend, I spotted a few other people that came to enjoy this lake, one of which was being dared to go into the water. It took a little coaxing, but sure enough, he slipped in. He tried his best to get others to follow, but to no avail. Of the 4 hikers, he was the only one brave enough. While there was snow on the north-facing slope going right to the edge of the lake, I was still surprised to see ice floating on a good chunk of the water. No doubt the ice-off on this lake hadn't happened too long ago. All right, so we made it to the lake. Again, it was a very easy hike, a half-mile hike, and it's just in a beautiful setting. You know, we're probably up around 9,000 feet would be my guess. Now, it is the 1st of July. As you can see, there's still some snow coming down into the lake, and it is known as being a lake that's pretty cold. There used to be a rope swing here, however, I don't think that's up anymore, and so a lot of people actually do come and swim in this lake. There is some cliffy stuff, and there was actually somebody I saw go in the water just barely. So anyways, it's a fun destination if you've got a half a day and you want to do something different than just hanging out at Bear Lake or something like that, then this is just a great place to go. So there's only one more thing I think I need to show you, and we're going to wrap this up. All right, so the last thing I want to do, of course, is take a dive here. We came all the way out here. I've heard that people like to swim in this lake, and so I'm going to try it. Even though there's a giant iceberg out there. It's covering there's ice on about a fifth of the lake here. And so it's bound to be cold, but why not? My wife thinks I'm crazy. My kids would love for me to do this. So we're gonna take a dive real quick and see how I do. Hopefully I don't get hypothermia before I get back to the truck and turn the heater on. But you know, you came all this way out, you may as well do it, right?
You're crazy.
Great. Is it cold?
It's warmer than ice. I mean, all right, there's no way to do it but doing it, right?
Wicked.
Woo, okay.
What a weirdo.
Is it cold? How cold is it?
I can't breathe. Whew. All right, so if you're at Bear Lake and you're looking for something different to do, you can go rock climbing, ice cave exploring, or come out and swim in a high mountain lake. There's all kinds of stuff, so get out there and have fun. Tune in next week at the same time for another episode of Jared Scott Outdoors.